Hello everyone, my name is Gage Claude Gibson. This is my disability lesson. This is on deaf and blindness. I also had it with my partner Robert Farrell, so let's get into it. So first and foremost, we got to talk about the definition of deafness. There's three different kinds of deafness. There's conductive, which involves the ear canal, eardrum, or middle ear. Sensorineural, which involves the inner ear and nerve-related issues. Then there's mixed, which can be a combination of difficulties from both conductive and sensory neural. Then there's the blindness definition. There's five different things that can cause blindness and vision impairments. It can be refractive, where one eye just doesn't bend the light properly. Nearsightedness, which affects the ability to see things far away. Farsightedness affects the ability to see things close up. Astigmatism, I personally have. I have an astigmatism in my right eye. Curvature of the front surface of the eye causes blurry vision. And then there can also be muscular differences, where different ones where the eyes can't, maybe sometimes they can't focus, they can't look in different directions, they can't turn inwards, and/or they cause voluntarily rapid eye movements. So causes for deafness, there's many different reasons why someone may become deaf. Though through our readings for class, it seems like most of them come before, during, or after birth. Um, Complications like premature birth or simply genetics can cause it. Ear infections after birth due to complications at birth are also prominent. Those ear infections can also occur due to complications before birth. Then for blindness, multiple causes again. There's ones that are before and after birth, like premature birth. They can cause vision impairment and legal blindness. Um, Children under the age of 5 can get cancer of the eye. There can also just be infections, genetic or metabolic diseases that cause partial or total blindness. So, how to identify deafness and hearing impairments? Uh, so, they don't always go hand in hand with what we know as disabilities or dysfunctions. Um, Spoken language and speech development are typically affected, but not skills like reading, writing, math, science, things like that. Things like that don't typically get affected by deafness and hearing impairments, but they certainly can. But it's not typical. Being hard of hearing or using sign language are also identifying factors of deafness or hearing impairments. Additionally, if a student has hearing aids, um, may ask for the sound to be louder, makes comments that they can't hear well. Little things like that that you may not put a lot of you might not look a lot into, but can definitely be identifying factors. Then on to identify blindness and vision impairments. Um, they vary greatly from person to person. Um, Typically, people with vision impairments or blindness, well, vision impairments, first off, they might hold things, closer to their eyes and squint. They might also wear glasses, but not every family can afford going to a doctor and getting glasses, so that might not always be the case. And then for blindness, they'll have a para and an IEP with that. So challenge and needs for learning in the classroom for our students who are afflicted with deafness and hearing impairments. Toby Carton put it in our book for class. One of the quotes I really liked. That the concern is that their unique communication and language needs are not being met in general education classrooms. Forgive me. Sorry about that. But what this quote is telling us is that there's a concern that these students' needs are not being met consistently enough, which is never a good thing. They're not getting appropriate reading, writing, spelling, grammar, or math skills due to barriers in communication. And that's really the big thing when it comes to deafness and hearing impairments. It's just getting effectively communicating the information to our students. They already have a hard enough time as it is getting the information. Um, we need to make that as effective as we can. Challenges and needs for learning in the classroom for blindness and vision impairment students. Little to no benefit from visuals. Um, they might have, if they went blind later in life, they might be able to make images in their head. They might be able to do something with it, but more often than not, visual cues and visuals just are not going to be a big thing. They're going to rely on other senses, which, as we will learn later, is actually part of a strength that they can have. Things that become distorted when enlarged, maps, elements of a map, um, different examples. Like readings, text. You might have a huge big packet because you're trying to make the text larger. Things that can become distorted and they lose their effectiveness. Then we also have safety. This specifically goes for our students that suffer from total blindness, but it also could go for vision impairment. You want to make sure that the ground is clutter free, nothing on the ground that they might trip on or slip on, and not changing the room layout frequently, keeping that consistent. Those are some challenges. So how are we going to address that? Well, first off, for deafness, we're going to differentiate our lessons. Providing guided notes as well as other accommodations that do not alter the objective work well, because we don't want to alter the objective as much as we can. We don't want these students to get the full teaching. We want them to get the full objective with little to no obstructions as possible. And also promote participation. This can come from moving the classroom around, getting them in like a circle where you're closer to the students. Um, Use group activities that include visual things so that they can interact more. And it honestly could even come for. Oh, I'm sorry. This could even come with helping your class learn how to interact with the student effectively. It really could just be as simple as that. Just having conversation with your students, because this is their classmate, this is their friend. They want to be able to interact with them and help them as much as they can. So honestly, just even talking with your students on how to best interact with your student that may have deafness or hearing impairments. Blindness. I didn't have it on here, but same thing like with deafness and hearing impairments for our students that suffer from blindness and vision impairments. Definitely talk to your students about it. Tell them how to effectively interact with them. It's a huge thing. For blindness, we're going to lean on their other senses. It's a challenge, but exploring other options that take advantage of not only hearing, but touch and even smell and taste can be effective. Provide braille instruction where applicable. Review magnified or enlarged print to make sure everything looks okay. Then we have O&M, which is orientation and movement. Movement can help with learning as it's something physical that they can understand. Like they don't need to see it, and if it doesn't have any texture or anything, physically moving can help them understand things. Along with orientation, it helps with making sure the student knows where they are so they can be comfortable. It also keeps the classroom clean and consistent, like I said, and the challenges and needs. No clutter on the floor. Make sure that the layout is consistent. So adaptive or educational technology for deafness, hearing impairment, blindness, and vision impairment. For deafness, you're going to want videos with subtitles, voice to text. Um, in the book, there was also something that mentioned voice to sign language. I didn't know that exists, but that's really cool. Um, excuse me. Then we have interactive whiteboards. Um, kind of like I had a teacher in high school who had this like tablet sort of thing, and he could write on it, and it would appear on the board, and he could write from like the back of the class. That helps. And then images or visual cues for our deafness and hearing impairment students, just so that they can try to get the most out of things. Take advantage of what they can do. That's the big thing. Is to take advantage of what these students can do effectively without changing the objective. And then for blindness and our vision impairment students, videos are still effective. While they cannot see the visuals, a quality narrator can make the difference. Um, this helps other students so that this helps the student who is afflicted with a blindness or vision impairment. This allows them to still interact with these videos just like their classmates are. Um, you know, just make sure that it has a good narrator or that you are explaining the video well. You can even have an activity where a student explains it. Um, Things like that to get people involved. But it really can make the difference. Videos are still effective due to the audio portion of it. You're going to want quality speakers and audio devices. Those are just good educational technologies to have so that everyone can hear it, and even more so the students that have vision impairments or are blind. And then braille instruction and recording of notes, other things in class. These are good to have, um, especially the recordings of notes and other things in class, just because They may not be able to get to everything because they're taking their time. They obviously they have needs, and so making sure that they can always go back and listen to the notes, listen to the explanation of things is going to be important. And the braille instruction is just always a nice thing to have. And this is my reference page with a little summary. I really only used the book that we have in class by Toby Carton. It's Building on Strengths of Students with Special Needs, How to Move Beyond Disability Labels in the Classroom. This is a book for our class, and this is where I got all my information. The book covers in great detail all the identifying factors, characteristics, way to assist all kinds of disability and complications students may have. It's incredibly helpful. My partner Robert Farrell made the interactive portion for this on YouTube. I'll put it in the description. But I'm going to upload it to the discussion board. That's a Kahoot. Yeah, he helped a lot with this too, and I hope you enjoyed.